And here we go.
There's the deluge. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did he just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Gino.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
Equination.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my god.
Yikes. You bet. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Good evening / good morning, depending on where you are located. This is NSF live coverage of the return of Crew-11. We are now approximately 90 minutes away from the 4 astronauts on board Crew Dragon Endeavour splashing down off the Pacific Ocean near California. I'm Sawyer Rosenstein. I will be your host for today's broadcast. And as always, I am not alone. In fact, if you're joining us, you are joining us for a very special stream in that we are introducing a brand new voice to NSF, but not a new voice to the community. Joining me today on commentary is Jay, but since we have multiple Jays here, it is not Jay Keegan. This is JG. How's it going, Jay?
Hey, having a fantastic time so far. Looking forward to seeing a hopefully wonderful mission tonight.
That is exactly what we were hoping for, and I'm sure people have questions about you, and we'll get to learn more about you, because I know you've worked a lot with DOS and EJ and the Kerbal crew, so we'll chat with you more as well.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
And then tonight, pushing the buttons, pulling the levers, producing this stream is Carson Phillips. So that is your team for this evening. And right now, you can see there the Crew Dragon Endeavour passing over the northern part of South America there on what will likely be part of the final orbit for the Crew of 4. And this mission coming to an end about a month earlier than originally expected. Part of the reason for this early return, of course, was that there was a medical issue aboard the International Space Station with one of the 4 crew members of Crew-11, and out of an abundance of caution, it was decided that the Crew of 4 would be returning early. Now, it was not an emergent issue, so they didn't have to do a rapid deorbit, but this is obviously a month sooner than they had originally planned. At about 5:20 p.m. Eastern Time, the crew officially undocked from the International Space Station and then began their journey now on towards splashdown. There have been 3 burns up to this point to kind of get them to where they are, to separate away from the ISS, and there is just one major burn left, and that is the deorbit burn, and that is scheduled for 11:51 p.m. Eastern Time, or 2:51 a.m. Eastern. So we are coming up on that very shortly here. Of course, there's a lot that still needs to happen ahead of that time, and we will go over that. Also, a reminder, if you have any questions, you can tag us at NASASpaceflight or at NSF, and we will do our best to answer as many of your questions as we can throughout the broadcast. So currently on board Dragon, we have Commander Zena Cardman, pilot Mike Fink, JAXA astronaut Kamiya Yui, and cosmonaut from Roscosmos Oleg Platonov, set to splash down off the coast of California. Where off of California is this set to splash down, Jay?
So that's going to be splashing down just west of San Diego. I am actually really excited for all the folks around Los Angeles because I'm assuming that you will be able to clearly see the actual capsule entering the atmosphere and hopefully get a good light show out of that. But yeah, the splashdown itself will be just west of San Diego off the coast there.
And you can see there that map provided by SpaceX of the trajectory. So keep an eye out all the way, I would say all the way up towards San Francisco and Sacramento and the northern parts of California. If you have clear skies, go ahead outside and take a look for it. Of course, as you then proceed down the coast, especially towards major populated areas like Los Angeles and the surrounding spots, definitely go outside and take a look. If the skies are clear, there's a very good chance you will see something that looks a bit like a shooting star, except it is bright orange and it's going to look a little sparky. That will indeed be Crew Dragon Endeavour. All right, and you can see now just how long Crew Dragon Endeavour has been in space on this particular mission. 166 days, 15 hours, currently 310 kilometers in altitude above the Earth, and traveling at over 26,800 kilometers per hour. So, what do we expect in terms of the actual re-entry? So what's going to happen once we get to re-entry with this capsule, Jay?
So there's going to be a few processes that have to happen before that. Nose cone has to be closed, all that sort of stuff. But in terms of the actual entry itself, we're going to be getting a blackout, which is a plasma blackout, or radio blackout, I should say, because as the capsule enters the atmosphere, it's moving at such a high velocity, even having decelerated already with the deorbit burn, there is so much force that the capsule is slamming into the air and turns the air, compresses it into plasma, and then that causes a radio blackout. So we get, I think it's a couple of minutes of blackout, and so we won't have any connection with them at that time. But then as they get through that, then we'll get radio comms back and hopefully see some good shoot deployment and nice, relatively gentle splashdown in the Pacific Ocean just off the coast of San Diego.
Exactly. Sometimes we get lucky in that there will be an aerial camera that they have. Haven't seen any information regarding NASA's WB-57 imaging plane because they've turned off their ADS-B transponder, which is what a lot of people on the ground use to be able to track it and see if it is at an event. So hopefully we will see some aerial views.
Great news.
And it's going to be tricky to get the call-outs mixed in with some random commentary there from the NASA SpaceX feed. So we're going to do our best to try and relay those to you as best as we can. But so far, everything looking good. So at this point now, again, we should be coming up on all of the procedures for entry as we have the official go for entry. That was the call that we heard just there.
Fantastic.
So what we can expect otherwise now is there are a bunch of thrusters located in the nose cone of Crew Dragon. Those are the same ones that were used to help maneuver the Dragon capsule away from the ISS and perform its burns to depart. And so it will also use those now for its re-entry. So there will be one final deorbit burn. It's a relatively long one that will only slow the speed down by a couple hundred kilometers an hour, which seems crazy, but when you're going, 26,800 kilometers an hour, that little bit will allow them to start dipping into the atmosphere. And then, of course, Earth's atmosphere will do the rest, and the heat shield located outside of Crew Dragon Endeavour will hopefully do the rest of the work to slow it down on its trajectory. Prior to that, though, of course, there are two other parts that need to happen. There is a trunk located at the very back of Crew Dragon. That is part of the unpressurized module. So you'll see the solar panels wrapped around it. That's also used to bring up certain things like rollout solar arrays or any other payloads that do not need to be pressurized. They hang outside. Prior to reentry, they will jettison that because that trunk is currently blocking the heat shield, the portion that actually needs to face that entry interface, as it's called. And then, of course, you don't want heat getting into those thrusters up at the front. So once you don't need them, that is when they close that door. And you can kind of see there the overview of Dragon. So that is the trunk. That is the part that will be jettisoned and burnt up. And in fact, that particular piece of hardware is part of the reason why they moved all of these reentries from the East Coast around Florida to the West Coast. Because it turns out some of our friends in Australia were starting to notice pieces of the trunk wash up on their beaches. It was expected, based off original calculations, that wouldn't be a problem based off of where they jettisoned the trunk for those East Coast splashdowns. Turns out they were wrong. So what they've decided to do is move out to the West Coast, and as a result, it will now splash down and destroy itself over unpopulated parts of the Pacific Ocean rather than people of Australia. And you can see that the capsule, which was originally rated for up to 7 people, but right now continues to fit 4 and has only launched 4, with the exception of Demo 2, which launched 2 people. And I guess technically Crew-9's launch as well, which launched with 2 before returning with 4 total. Let's see here. Got a question for you while we're waiting for the re-entry portion here. Post Hasty is asking, hi Jay, are you a massive space nerd?
Yeah, huge space nerd. I feel like it's a requirement at NSF to be a huge space nerd. I have done a few different rocket launch coverages with DOS. In fact, I still tend to call him DOS, just as many people in the community and here at NSF do also call him DOS. Just because, real names, who needs real names? I've worked with him as a camera operator kind of across the globe, actually. Done a bunch of rocket launches. In fact, the last time I saw you, Sawyer, we were at the MST Mobile Service Tower rollback for Parker Solar Probe.
That was
And
2018, I believe.
yeah, it's been a while. It has been a while. But that was launch too. But I've covered rocket launches with DOS and then done virtual field trips with him was another thing that we worked on where we would do educational trips all over the globe, including we did, I think, 40 broadcast hours in Normandy for the 75th commemoration of D-Day. And yeah, lots of experience behind the camera. Also just love space in general. Lots of time in a Kerbal Space Program also. So yeah, love it for sure. Happy to be here at NSF and being a part of this and sharing this with everybody else too.
Well, we are very glad to have you with us and glad to have you joining us this evening / morning / whatever it is on whatever coast you're on.
It's a little bit easier for me because I'm on the West Coast, so it's not nearly as late for me as it is for you.
Okay, so the important question is, which coast is the best coast?
Ooh, see, I've lived on both, so I feel like, oh man, see, then there's launch infrastructure on both too, so I can't even specifically see Space Coast because we got Vandenberg on the West Coast, so I'm kind of in between. I'll say that I am impartial because I've lived all over the place.
A very diplomatic but probably incorrect answer here at NSF.
Definitely incorrect. It's definitely the wrong answer. Absolutely.
Just keep in mind, you've actually seen launches out at the Space Coast. You have only seen fog over at Vandenberg.
That's true. I have not yet seen a launch myself at Vandenberg. I've seen several in the Space Coast, so that is accurate.
Not that I'm trying to persuade you in any one particular direction, but I'm trying to persuade you in one particular direction.
I think right now my preferred coast is the West Coast because it's not, the middle of the night. It's just starting to get there.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Space Coast has already had a launch today earlier, just saying.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, I was awake for that. You may have noticed if you've been following all of our streams today, it has been me on all 3 broadcasts so far today. So it's been a long day, but
Sawyer's a trooper.
exciting. It's always exciting when there are people in space and when they're finally returning back to Earth. And again, while it's a shame that it is earlier than expected, I'm sure they will all be grateful to see their families come back to Earth and have some fresh food again.
It was pretty powerful seeing the change of command ceremony because as they were doing the change of command, the new commander was reminded that the first order that had been given was a group hug, and so the next first order was also a group hug, and it was very touching. I really liked seeing it. It just helps sort of add that human element to spaceflight because that, to me at least, is really what it's all about. Like, yes, we have wonderful robotic explorers out there in the cosmos, but having humans up in space, I think, is really a strong impact, both for us just to see emotionally back on Earth, but also science-wise and learning.
It's always touching to see the human aspect of it. And again, I know people ask, why do we send people into space? But what's amazing is what we get in return from all of this space flight and all of the spin-offs and things that we have been able to glean from all of this research on the ISS over the last 25 years, plus the research done before aboard Space Shuttle and Mir and other space stations.
Yep, absolutely.
Also, I appreciated Mike Fink, who was the commander before handing it off to Sergey was all of the dad jokes that he made. So
Always a fan of dad jokes.
I knew I liked you. Let's see here as we continue to wait for more callouts and wait for that deorbit burn. Let me thank some people here. Willard, thank you for becoming a PadRat member. Carson Craig, thank you as well for becoming a PadRat member. Bideford, good to see you, Bideford, with the $30 super chat, always generous. Saying, good morning, Sawyer. Max is awake. Jay, Carson, and everyone else. Always a pleasure seeing your name, Bideford. Appreciate that you were watching earlier as well, and for the support. Manson Mars, shout out to my space gal Holly, who will be venturing to Florida for Artemis 2 launch live. Suggestions on places to view the launch. We will definitely have some ideas. First, while we're talking about views, this is a view from SEN, their 4K camera aboard the International Space Station, and NSF is proud to have SEN as our official ISS camera partner up there. Always grateful when we get to use their views. And you're probably looking at it going, wait a minute, I thought Dragon undocked. Why are we seeing Dragon? That is the cargo Dragon for CRS 33. So don't be surprised. The other Crew Dragon is still on its way home. This is just the cargo Dragon that is still docked to the ISS. And before the Crew undocked from Crew-11, this had been the first time in the ISS's history that every single docking port aboard the station was fully occupied, which is pretty cool.
That's a good problem to have.
In terms of places to watch Artemis 2, I mean, you've got the Max Brewer Bridge is going to be packed. Well, I mean, every place is going to be packed, but that is a nice high vantage point. If you're looking for other views, you can always find spots along US 1 in Titusville. Spaceview Park is a little bit smaller, but there's that. I believe Cars Park might be open for it. So just check for that and check for the cost. Playa Linda Beach will not be open. In fact, they will be closing on the 31st to even just coming to see the rocket. So just keep that in mind when you're traveling. And this is an absolutely spectacular view as it crosses the dividing there between sunrise and sunset. Absolutely gorgeous.
You know, I was actually just thinking about the human element of it, but for this particular mission for Crew-11, this will be their last orbital sunrise. So I wonder if they're taking the time to sort of drink that in a little bit. And I mean, obviously there's other things they have to do. They're focused on their tasks and their mission, but I hope that they're getting some time to look at the show and enjoy that.
I hope so too. And yeah, normally there are 16 sunrises and sunsets a day, so this is a little bit. I guess they're gonna have to get used to going back to one a day.
Yeah.
Let's see here. A couple more people I want to thank. Fluffy, who is a big advocate for the West Coast, saying, "Come on, Jay, ignore Bagel Man. Yes, let's go."
Bagel. Oh no.
That's a new one. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
I mean, you may have heard my takes on bagels with a certain abandoner who we shall not name, whose name is named with rack dryer. So,
Right.
Leia saying, "No, Vandenberg is not always foggy. Our TLS was clear. Traditionally,
Like just
foggy.
one time, or
Yeah, exact. Thank you. Thank you." Also, thank you to RC Horseman for gifting 10 Red Team memberships. And Revhead gifting 5 Red Team memberships as well. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say a marine layer can make for a more interesting visually launch if they do launch out of it, at least. If you have a view out of it. Which,
if there are any
views
visuals.
like views that NSF can provide sometimes if it's not too thick.
If it pops through the cloud layer, it's quite gorgeous, but you need to actually be able to see it at that point. Let's see here. I see people asking about the Artemis 2 rollout Saturday. Yes, NSF will be there for the rollout, and yes, we will be providing live coverage for that as well. So make sure you stick around Saturday. Rollout time is currently targeting 7 a.m. Eastern on Saturday for that first movement. And of course, it is an approximately 12-hour procedure. We will not be live for that entire 12-hour rollout, but we will be live with commentary for quite a bit of it. And then, of course, we also have our Space Coast Live 24/7 cameras that you will be able to track it with as we are still able to see it.
And I imagine we'll end up doing some time lapses with some of our cameras as well for that rollout.
I know I'm planning on setting one up while I'm out there, so for sure.
Fantastic.
Someone here saying, never thought I would see a reentry in California. Cool, they are doing that. And again, as I was mentioning earlier, in fact, all of the reentries have indeed moved to the West Coast. So for normal deorbits of all Crew Dragon capsules, they will do it out in the Pacific. So once it splashes down, it will be scooped up by Shannon with the crew on board. The crew will be removed and taken by helicopter back to land. Meanwhile, Shannon will then make its trek over to the port of Long Beach, which is where it is typically stationed. That's also the spot where SpaceX returns any of their West Coast boosters after drone ship landings aboard Of Course I Still Love You. And that will then be taken back to Hawthorne, and then it will work its way back down to Cape Canaveral, following refurbishments to Dragonland that they have there to get it refurbished, ready to go, and for Crew Dragon Endeavour to fly again with more people. And again, to clarify, this is not Crew Dragon Endeavour, this is a Cargo Dragon, which is similar to a Crew Dragon. The interior is designed in a very similar manner, except there are no seats, there are no touchscreens, there is no life support system on it. It's mainly just an empty shell. Also, you'll notice that there's kind of spots where it looks like there should be thrusters, but there aren't. There isn't the launch escape system that there is aboard Crew Dragon. Crew Dragon has, in addition to the 16 regular Draco thrusters on it, it also has additional stronger ones that are called Super Dracos that are part of that abort system. If something were to go wrong, either on the pad or during launch, those would fire and help separate the crew away. They don't need that for the Cargo Dragon, so it saves mass, and they can put more stuff inside instead. Let's see. And again, of course, if you have questions, you can tag us at NASASpaceflight or at NSF is the new way to do it. Let's see here. Someone's asking here, what was the turnaround time for Crew Dragon at the moment? Not sure exactly what you mean for turnaround time, but Jay, this one's been up in this particular flight for quite a while.
Yeah, and I mean, this is obviously not Endeavour's first flight either. It's been through its paces as well a number of times, but looking forward to seeing it come home and go through all of the refurbishments that you had mentioned just a minute.
Exactly. In case you are wondering, Endeavour is on its sixth flight, and it is average. It takes about a year or so for the turnaround between the different flights, just so you're aware. And I mean, it's been, again, this is its sixth flight. This one, as we mentioned, going on for about 5 months or so, and they're about on average 5 to 6 months. So someone can do the math and get the exact time of how long Crew Dragon Endeavour has spent in space. You can see there, that is the mission elapsed time of 166 days, 15 hours, 49 minutes, and counting.
Right
Right
and
now,
I think you mentioned earlier that they've been up there. Sorry, Crew-11 specifically has been up there for about 5 months. They were originally scheduled to be up there for about 8. They were going to come back in April, but then obviously there was a medical issue and they had to come back. But right now we're sitting at 166 days for mission time for this particular.
And that was actually going to be bumped down even more because of conflicts with Artemis 2. So as a result, Crew 12, which is the next crew mission to the ISS, they wanted to deconflict with some of the very narrow windows that they have to be able to launch Artemis 2 to the moon. In fact, if you take a look at the dates that are available, it's basically 5 to 7 days a month that they can do it between February, March, and April. It's very limited because of when they have to launch, obviously to be able to go out towards the moon for that translunar injection and to get into the particular free return trajectory that they're doing, but also the fact that they cannot have a point in its orbit where Orion has more than 90 minutes where it is not exposed to sun. So it has to be somewhere in which it will orbit and there is nothing blocking it, no shadows on it for longer than 90 minutes, and that limits their times for that one. So to just make it easier, since Crew-12 doesn't really have that restriction, it's just where is the ISS when you want to launch, they moved that up, and as of now, they are targeting February 15th, but because of the medical concerns aboard the ISS with Crew-11, they have said that they are looking into potentially moving it even earlier. But also worth noting that for Artemis, those first bunch of attempts, I believe the last one of those is on February 10th, so that would make sense then for February 12th to be allowed for the Crew Dragon mission to the ISS. Coming up on about an hour to go until splashdown. We are also coming up on about 15 minutes or so until the official deorbit burn that is scheduled per NASA and SpaceX. They are targeting 2:51 a.m. Eastern Time, 11:51 p.m. West Coast time. Right now, everything seems to be on track. Again, using those forward thrusters located atop Dragon inside that nose cone. Also up in that front portion there, in addition to the actual thrusters, there's also the laser system that is used for when they go dock to the International Space Station. That is also where they have a lot of their higher gain antennas located for communicating with ground stations, as well as TDRS, the Tracking Data Relay Satellite Network, which is a bunch of satellites that they have in higher orbit that they can use to communicate back with Earth. So that is why they keep it open as long as possible. But of course, for reentry, you don't want any plasma or heating getting into it. So it becomes less of a concern. And again, there's other ways to still be able to communicate with the capsule. You just lose some of that higher band antenna connection. Let's see. So, in terms of people that might kind of just be catching up, who know the basics of there was some medical thing, can you kind of run us through the timeline of how we got to where we are, of what this whole medical thing started out as?
Well, the specifics that we had for it, or maybe I should say that there haven't been any incredible specifics about it, which I actually want to touch on briefly. Is I've seen a lot of people speculating, and I want to make sure that it's known that we are not trying to do any speculation ourselves because it is a personal, private issue. So, as far as medical stuff, we don't necessarily know exactly what's wrong. We don't necessarily know which astronaut, cosmonaut, whoever it is that is having an issue. And we want to make sure that we're respecting that as well. But we had, I forget exactly what date it was, though. I'm a little bit fuzzy on the days. But we had to, there was the emergency press conference that NASA did and wanted to make sure that they understood what the issue was. There was a private call that went from the station down to NASA Mission Control, and they decided that they did want to bring the crew home early. And that is what leads us to today with the return home.
Yeah, the official report of the incident first arose on January 7th.
Orbit
That was
sequence
when
start.
they were.
Dragon copy.
All right.
Here we go. We're getting into that deorbit sequence start here, so getting ready for that deorbit burn in about 5 minutes. It's getting to that nervous part. Always a little bit of nerves when you're discussing anything with human spaceflight. Again, right now, continuing to see these views from SEN, our ISS camera partner aboard the International Space Station, as we don't currently have views right now from Crew Dragon. But yes, the initial incident allegedly occurred. Incident, I guess the thing occurred on January 7th when they were preparing for a spacewalk. Of course, they just postponed that EVA, and that was when we got word that January 8th they held the press conference, and that was when they decided that Crew Dragon Endeavour and Crew-11 would be coming home early.
Mm-hmm. And you were talking about the nerves a little bit a second ago. That is one of the things is that after the deorbit burn, that's it. You're gravity's bringing you home. There's no aborting out of that. It's just you're going to go through the atmosphere. So I definitely understand the nerves for that particular situation.
Exactly. And you can kind of see that last portion of its trajectory there. Looks like it will be doing a burn basically over the ocean, not really anywhere in particular near there. It looks like it's currently passing south of South Africa and near Madagascar. And you can see here, those are the splashdown zones that SpaceX has there with the sort of keep out area. Of course, they are going to be using the one closer to San Diego. They also do have the one that is nearer to LA and the one that is nearer to Long Beach. And on board the spacecraft set to return are NASA astronaut Zena Cardman, Mike Fink, JAXA astronaut Camilla Yui, and Russian cosmonaut Oleg Platonov. They have been aboard the ISS for quite a while, doing a whole bunch of scientific experiments, living in space, working in space. A lot of research being done. A lot has been accomplished under their amazing watch here on the ISS during their stint. And in regards to the crew, this was Zena Cardman's first space flight, as she commanded it. There was a whole story with other missions that she was supposed to be on and whatnot, but she made it onto this flight. You had Mike Fink, who is on his fourth space flight, originally assigned to fly on Starliner 1, but with Starliner 1 being downgraded to a cargo resupply mission as they work to recertify that vehicle, he flew instead on Crew-11. Camilla Yui also going on his second space flight, and when he first launched, there were actually 2 JAXA astronauts aboard the ISS at the same time, something very rarely seen these days, and Oleg Platonov from Roscosmos on his first flight. Of course, a deal that they continue to have with the United States and Russia, where they will always reserve a seat for the other partner. So there will always be a Russian seat available on Crew Dragon. There will always be an American seat available on Soyuz, which for MS-28 was taken by Chris Williams, who is currently the only person that will be operating the entire U.S. side of the International Space Station, which is split up into 2, the Russian side and the U.S. side. And yes, the U.S. side includes Kibo, which is JAXA. It includes Columbus, which is ESA. So it's the U.S. side, but there are other countries involved in it.
All comes down to that international cooperation that we strive for so much on the ISS.
Absolutely. We should be coming up on that deorbit burn very soon here, so we'll be keeping an eye out and an ear out for that.
Mhm.
In the meantime, let me thank some people here. Fluffy, our West Coaster, saying, "Man, now I have to get up at 5 o'clock for SLS." I mean, if you wake up at 5, then you're going to miss a whole hour of rollout because it's 7 a.m. Eastern. And you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't miss NSF coverage, right? Chromatic, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. And Molly Miriam's gifting 10 Red Team memberships. Thank you so much. Again, we're only able to bring coverage of all of these events because of support from viewers like you. We genuinely appreciate it. That's so we can have cameras over at the Space Coast, cameras down at Starbase, live feeds for both of them, be able to cover a launch today, as well as being able to provide the streams for the undocking and now the splashdown of Crew-11. So thank you.
It's your support that helps us who love doing it so much, share it back with all of you. So it's definitely much appreciated.
And as members, you get stuff in return too. We get awesome photo sets that we're able to post for you in the YouTube member section for if you join the YouTube membership. And of course, for the higher levels of support, we also have the NSF Discord where you can chat with all of us, join us, and share all your space love with your fellow space friends, and continue to tell Jack how wrong he is about his taste in bagels.
Also, just wanted to do a quick little recap that the deorbit burn, which will be happening in just a few minutes, will be putting the capsule on a trajectory to enter the atmosphere roughly northwest of Los Angeles, where it will be performing a splashdown just west of San Diego, folks that are around those areas.
Exactly. If anybody lives out there and you're wondering, may I be able to see it, may I not? go outside, take a look. If you have a camera with you, catch some video or some photos of it, send it to us. Please tag us on all the socials. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Blue Sky, X. We're on all of them. Send us photos or videos. We love to see it. And again, you can see there on the left, that is the Mission Control 4 Dragon. And that is located at Hawthorne, California, inside SpaceX headquarters. To the right, you can see the Mission Control Center for the International Space Station over in Houston, Texas. Most of the communications, though, will be from the team on the left side of your screen. And of course, all of those communications will be done at NASA. They call it a Capcom, but over at SpaceX, they call it a core. That is the name for their comms officer. And hopefully we should be getting confirmation of that entry burn beginning shortly. Let's see here. Continuing to keep an eye on this, and there is a super chat here for you. Problem Solver NSF. I'm guessing that's
Sounds like someone I might know.
wonder that could be Dan. Welcome, Jay. Did you bring cookies? Asking for a friend.
Ooh, I have these, but unfortunately, you're gonna have to accept them, and it can't just be the essential ones. I'm sorry.
Oh boy, I'm sure I'm missing some context here.
Just computer. It's okay. It was a bad joke on purpose.
No, I get that part.
Okay, yeah. Oh, as far as the cookies in general, I think Dan probably just wants cookies. I've been working with Dan. I honestly, I'll tell everybody, I started like a week and a half ago, and so I've been hitting the ground running, working with Dan a lot, trying to get some solutions figured out for some of our hardware, which is all out in the field and available for folks to view from. So when you are viewing from those kind of cameras, then you may see eventually, may not always see it, but like you may see the camera will switch off of certain cameras because folks like Dan are out. So all of that is appreciated to have your viewership there because it helps provide us with tasks for Dan to do.
Perfect name there as well. The Problem Solver NSF is
And
the
he
name there.
is. It's impressive, I'll be honest.
Exactly. Mike Alpha Tango Sierra asking, do we think in the near future we will get to know what astronaut the medical emergency was for? I mean, it's possible, but I don't think NASA, like after they splash down, is going to come outright and say, hey, this was the medical emergency for this crew member. Here you go.
Yeah.
My guess is if they so choose, they may come out with it themselves. The other thing that might be an indicator eventually, if we find out who it was, is I am sure there will be medical papers written about what occurred and the procedure and things like that. And if those do get published, there are usually indicators, if not direct names, as to who it was that the medical emergency was about. In fact, that became the case with Serena Aron Chancellor, who was aboard the ISS. There was an undisclosed astronaut, as NASA put it, who encountered a blood clot in space in their jugular vein. And that was the first time that they'd really had that happen. They were able to treat it, and she was fine and continued her mission. She was one of the co-authors on the paper when they came back down. So that kind of was the indicator there.
And we should be approaching the deorbit burn pretty much any time now in the next minute or so.
In just about 1 minute or so. It would be 51 minutes past the hour.
Right on time.
Of course, waiting for that confirmation for the deorbit burn to begin about 30 seconds from now. And these, by the way, I should point out when we say burn, it's not like it's we're used to seeing where, oh, it'll be a quick couple second burn before they deploy a satellite kind of deal. These are quite long entry burns. Or, deorbit burns. These typically last in the matter of minutes, sometimes 12, 15 minutes in that time range.
Yeah, especially the front thrusters aren't the classically powerful thrusters, rocket engines that they're used to seeing for things like launch and things like
Eastern
that.
Time,
It's
we
gonna be a
have
lot lower
confirmation
thrust.
that the deorbit burn has begun. This burn is expected to last over 13 minutes. For these return and splashdown operations, the United States Coast Guard, in coordination with SpaceX and NASA.
And there we go. We could talk about that in a bit too. But confirmation that the burn is underway, and we'll expect that to last, as we heard there, 13 minutes this time. It's usually a range, and of course, a lot of things depend on that. The mass of the vehicle, where it's at over the Earth, where it's intending to splash down, all of that gets factored in. So essentially, by doing that, it can change based on the mission. This one about 13 minutes or so. And of course, that's approximate. The onboard computers will be keeping track of the burn, how all the thrusters are firing, and its location and speed. And it will shut off once it finds that it is in the proper orientation for that. And again, this is just from the thrusters located at the very front of Dragon. So there's a nose cone at the top. That opens up. That's one of the first things they do when they enter orbit. Within 15 minutes of launch, that nose cone is open, which is usually critical for finding those docking cameras and testing everything out for rendezvous and docking. But it's also super important for deorbit because that has all of their main thrusters. It has a bunch of the smaller Draco thrusters that they use for maneuvering in there as well. So this is a super critical burn here. As pointed out, once it starts, once they start re-entering, they are committed to re-entering. Kind of like the load and go with propellant, although if something's wrong, they can't just stop and try again the next day. They are officially committed to returning back to Earth tonight.
Yep.
And you can see there again that the planned re-entry, you can see the point where you'll see that atmospheric re-entry. That is likely where you are going to see the sparkiness of it, the true thermal effects of it as parts of the material on that heat shield burn away. It's totally expected for parts of the heat shield to burn away. It will come back looking very much like a toasted marshmallow. However, it is indeed reusable. Of course, they will work on the base of Crew Dragon, deal with any tile portions or sections that need to be replaced, obviously. Water seal them for when they're on the ground, get everything ready to go. And then the same exact frame will fly again, although again, they'll have to change out parts of the heat shield system.
Mhm. And for folks who were asking earlier too, the splashdown is supposed to be at 12:41 a.m. Pacific time, and so rough guess, I would say if you're trying to look for the entry, maybe being outside around 12:25, 12:30-ish, because it does take a while to come down on the parachutes after they've fully deployed. So you want to give yourself a little bit extra time for that. But 12:41 is the splashdown. So you want to keep that in mind if you are trying to see the actual entry itself.
Yeah, typically once the parachutes are deployed, it's usually cooled down by that point, so you may still see a bit of a glow. But for the actual re-entry plasma, that's going to be a little bit earlier in it. Which I did see a question here, basically saying that I live in LA. Do you think there will be enough plasma when it passes over, or will it be too late in re-entry?
I think looking northwest, there's a decent chance of it because it's going to be passing almost right over the top of Vandenberg, actually, which I thought was kind of cool. So there's
So
a
no one
decent
will see it
chance of that. So I don't think the marine layer goes quite that high.
Worth the joke.
It's true. That's valid.
Apparently, per SpaceX, if you are in the LA area, about 30 minutes past the hour is when you should be looking for it. So
Okay.
12:30 a.m. Pacific time. If you're out on the West Coast in the LA area, of course, anywhere north of that, you may want to go out and look a little bit earlier. Let me thank here F6B Adventures saying, how fast can they deorbit if there is a real issue? And that is a good question. They have said that if this was a really, truly life-threatening medical emergency, they could return in a matter of approximately 3 hours or so. They didn't need to do it for this one, since it wasn't that urgent, but of course they wanted to get them down sooner than the originally planned 1 month from now splashdown. So that is why we see it tonight. So usually about 3 hours would be the fastest if they absolutely needed to. And part of that comes down to the recovery assets that they have ready, which you know the name of the recovery assets we have out there tonight, right?
I don't actually remember all those offhand. I know that they had a helicopter fly up from, if not central U.S., all the way from the East Coast, because I remember it stopping in Tucson to fuel up and continue west. We were we were actually tracking that, which was pretty cool to see.
Yep, it came all the way from Texas and worked its way out west to be ready atop Shannon, which is the recovery vessel.
That's right.
There were two of them, Shannon and Megan, named for the first women to fly aboard Crew Dragon. So Shannon moved out to the west coast. Megan still on the east coast, although again, all of the recovery assets have been moved to the west, so Megan's future is still kind of up in the air or in the water. But from the moment that we had heard word that they might be coming back early, you could actually see on the marine trackers these little dots around it. So Shannon kind of moving a little bit, but lots of action around it. And those are what are called fast boats. And we will see those as long as they provide the views for us tonight. Those are kind of little dinghies almost, with special crew members that will go out immediately after splashdown. They rush to the capsule and do all the beginning work. So, of course, the first thing being to use these little sniffer sticks that they have to sniff around all of those thruster ports. Because, of course, one of the biggest concerns is that you are using hypergolic fuels for the thrusters on there, and those can be very toxic and caustic to humans. So what they will do is they will use the sniffer, see if all of that junk is basically cleared out because they is designed to be purged. That is part of the procedure, and if it does purge and all is good, then they will work on rigging the vehicle. So once it is on the actual, to be able to lift it onto Shannon, they put this giant harness around it. So the teams will be out there on it, literally mounted onto the capsule, swimming around, jumping on it, attaching the rigs. They will then jump down into the water once it is done. It is really cool to watch. At that point, that is when Shannon will start backing up and moving her way closer to the capsule. On the back of the boat, there is this giant arm that will kind of reach down, and attached to it is a way that they can then hook on to those latch points that the fast boat crew just attached to Dragon. It will then be lifted up from there and placed onto a little donut, so to speak, a kind of protective ring on the deck of Shannon, which is on top of some tracks that will then be rolled back to underneath the protective awning there. They will do one final sniff for the hypergulls, and then if all is good, we will see the hatch opening, and then the crew will be taken out and brought into the boat for their medical examinations. So it is extremely likely that we will see crew members brought out on stretchers if they do show it. That is not an indicator of who the medical issue is about. It is not necessarily related to the medical issue. This is something that is standard after them being in space for 5 or 6 straight months. Your body's not quite used to gravity. So as a way to make it easier for the crew to hopefully not stand up and pass out or lose their lunch, they're typically brought out and either walk themselves onto or are lifted atop stretchers. They usually give a wave to the camera, and then they go underneath the boat for their immediate medical evaluations, as well as certain immediate post-landing tests that they do as part of their experiments. So
And
all that's still
astronauts
to come.
and astronauts do workouts multiple hours a day just to try and make sure that they're keeping their muscle and bone density. But it is still a very difficult experience to go from being in microgravity constantly down to Earth gravity. It is, you can see it almost anytime any astronaut gets out of a capsule. They'll just look like they're a little bit wrecked. It's been a rough experience getting back into gravity for them. So that's exactly what that kind of procedure is for. It's not, again, like Sawyer said, it's not an indicator of what the medical issue is. It's just standard.
Exactly. About 4 minutes left to go in the burn still for that deorbit burn. But yeah, as pointed out, that's kind of expected. Also, the human body turns out not meant to live in microgravity. It can, but
Yeah.
it's kind of designed to live in 1G. So your body gets uncomfortable up there. You have to, of course, do all of the exercise to keep the muscle and bone mass, especially on those muscles and bones that you don't really use anymore. So that's part of the exercise on it. In addition to that, your spine grows by about 2 inches in space. So people stretch. So your back is going to hurt in the beginning when you launch. And then, of course, once you get accustomed to it, it will hurt once it compresses back down on Earth. All of those things that they will have to contend with. One of the crew members aboard From 2, she said that she lifted her arm during reentry, was like, oh, wow, this feels like 1G already. Turns out it was 0.4 Gs. So, and that was only in space for about 5 days. This crew has been 5 months.
Yeah. And actually, we just got a cool question, if you don't mind me taking that one, Sawyer.
Absolutely.
So we just got a cool question, which is, does the deorbit burn slow it down or just lowers the craft in altitude? Well, the cool part about that is it does both. So if you think about it, like if you're throwing a baseball, any kind of ball that you can imagine, if you're throwing that as hard as you can, then the gravity obviously is going to eventually pull that down. But if you continue to throw it faster and faster, if you put it in a cannon and shot it out of that, it would go further, but gravity would still pull it down. So all you're really doing when you're deorbiting a spacecraft is you're slowing it down so that gravity brings it back down towards Earth. Because as you're orbiting, you're just free falling around the planet, in this case, Earth. And so if you go fast enough, as you fall towards Earth, you just match its curvature or exceed its curvature so that you fall around the planet instead. So a deorbit burn slows you down, gets you into the atmosphere, which serves as a wonderful brake, although it also heats things up and causes some other challenges, but it is a much more useful brake than something like Mars, which has a much thinner atmosphere. But by slowing down, you get into the atmosphere, you slow down more, and then eventually cool off, pull your parachutes.
Exactly. And that's the crazy part, is it only takes a couple of 100 miles / kilometers per hour to be able to get pulled in by gravity and re-enter. So that's why, yes, it's a very long burn with 13 minutes, about a minute left in it currently. But they're not using the strongest thrusters, and that speed only decreasing by a couple 100 kilometers an hour, just enough for gravity to start picking it up. And then, of course, the atmosphere will do the rest, and friction will help slow it down, as you were mentioning.
Mhm.
So waiting now for that confirmation of successful deorbit burn shutdown. Should be any moment now. And then once that is complete, next up will be the jettison of the trunk. That should be happening pretty much a minute or two after we get confirmation of that entry burn shutdown.
Dragon SpaceX, deorbit burn complete. Performance nominal. Trunk separation initiated.
Dragon copy is nominal deorbit burn. Trunk separation process initiated.
Okay, good.
There we go. Interesting that they call it claw separation there. But yes, that is indeed successful. That's what we want to hear. Nominal means good. So now they will be jettisoning the trunk. There are kind of latches that hold it in place, I guess, kind of like a claw. So that is, as we were mentioning earlier, the part of Crew Dragon that is unpressurized. So that houses a lot of electronics, communications. Of course, that is where the solar panel is located. That sort of black texture to it on the outside. That is the solar panels. Also has those fins that are on there in the event of a launch abort.
Dragon copies.
And it sounds like good jettison. That will then, of course, come back in and deorbit and hopefully burn up into pieces. And any part that doesn't burn up will splash down harmlessly in the ocean. As we mentioned earlier, that is part of the reason why they have moved these splashdowns to the West Coast, to try and avoid accidentally having them land on land, which was the case when they were splashing down in Florida. They were landing a little bit close to Australia, either on Australia itself or in the waters nearby and washing ashore.
And now that the deorbit burn is complete, the next thing up on the list is going to be closing the nose cone and getting things situated for re-entry.
The nose cone will be, of course, needed for protection as it re-enters, but the main point was to keep it open so that you have those thrusters. Those were the thrusters that were used for that deorbit burn, as well as for attitude control up to that point. Now that all of that is completed, they don't need it, they will be closing the trunk. And that will be about 3 minutes from now or so. Also under there is a lot of the communications antennas that they use, radar and LiDAR systems for communicating with and rendezvousing and docking with the International Space Station. They're higher gain antennas, so of course they'll still be able to communicate with the nose closed. It just provides that higher quality video and audio communications. Because worth noting, there are multiple ways that they can communicate. Of course, there is the space to ground, which is basically ground stations on the ground. As it passes over, they're able to communicate that way. There is also through TDRS, which is the Tracking Data Relay Satellite System, a bunch of satellites in orbit, in a higher orbit, that are used to help relay communications between spacecraft around Earth orbit and the ground station, kind of acting as the name suggests, a relay. So right now, I know people are asking, Dragon does not currently use Starlink for communication on board. They have done an experiment with that on Polaris Dawn with something called a Plaser, which was the plug-in laser, which, according to the crew, worked flawlessly, and that they were able to do FaceTime calls from orbit, be able to transmit high-speed data, and not have to deal with those communication blackouts. So it has been tested, and it looks like it works, although at this point it has not actually been utilized in anything other than a test for that. And I believe it was also tested again, possibly on on an additional mission after that. Let's see here. Fluffy coming in with a $5 super chat saying, Fluff lives in Montana, just north of the second best coast. The only space stuff we have here is NSF. Sag. That's not a bad thing. You have us. We're grateful
That's
to
true.
be here.
Yeah, there's coverage all over the place, which is great.
That's our whole goal, is to make space
Really is.
open to more people. That's why we have as many cameras as we do, to try and grab people's interest and attention. Whether you're interested more in Starship, we've got Starship stuff. Interested more in SpaceX side of things, we've got everything at the Cape. Interested in NASA, we've got everything going on with Artemis right now this year. We're there for it all. And ULA and Blue and so many other ones. We were out at Andoya. We've also covered Firefly. So many different launches that we've been able to cover, and it's an honor to cover all of them, even over at Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia for Electron.
Space is for everybody, and we're trying to do our best to bring it to everybody as well.
Exactly. And yes, Andrew, that was the other one. From2 did do the same Starlink Plaser test that was done as well. Let's see. Matt's asking, was this the Dragon with the thruster in the trunk for boosting the station, or was that Cargo Dragon? That was a Cargo Dragon vehicle. So the other one, when we had the send cameras earlier, and you could see the Dragon that was docked, that was that particular vehicle. And that's why that CRS-33 mission coming on with a special boost package in the trunk, allowing them to actually boost the orbit of the ISS, because ISS orbit decays, because gravity's still a thing. Normally, it has been the Russian side of the space station that is able to do those in-orbit boosts. But yeah, we also want to be reliant on our own vehicles. So on top of that, we have seen the Cygnus resupply vehicle do it in the past. And of course, now SpaceX getting in the game and saying, hey, we can do it too.
Yeah, the ISS is about 250 miles up, depending on where it's at in its orbit. And even that high up, there is still a faint amount of atmosphere, which is just enough to cause a little bit of drag, which will slowly start to degrade the orbit. So it's important to have as many vehicles as we can able to boost the orbit. Yes.
And hopefully shortly we should get confirmation of that nose cone closure. And that is the final thing before they encounter the atmosphere, known as atmospheric entry interface. So that's when they will start entering that thicker part of the atmosphere, dealing with the drag, and that is when we will see the plasma, things heating up hotter than the surface of the sun underneath the Crew Dragon spacecraft.
Yep, and that's due in about 20 minutes. So if anybody is in the Los Angeles area, that will be the time to head outside and see if you can see anything, either west or northwest, depending on where you're at specifically. But it will be coming basically right down the California coast.
Yeah, in fact, in the next 15, 20 minutes, probably, if you're anywhere near the western coast of the United States, I'm not sure specifically, but it can't hurt if you're in Washington State, Oregon, definitely the northern parts of California, Sacramento, San Francisco, working your way down towards LA, and of course the splashdown near San Diego. Go outside and take a look. I wouldn't even be surprised if you're somewhere along the coast in Vancouver. If you have a view out west, just go out and take a look. Trying to remember my geography again. I know my East Coast geography, not my West Coast.
It would be a ways to be able to see from Washington, especially, but Oregon, maybe Southern Oregon, you might be able to see a little bit something, but I'm not sure if it'd be anything much more beyond that north.
No, go outside and take a look. Bring us with you on your phone and see what you can see.
And hey, you can always stargaze too. That's always an option. It's always nice to go outside and just see the stars.
Exactly. And if you happen to catch one that's shooting by and very bright and orange, well, there's 4 people inside of it.
Well, there will, I guess, to this point, there will also be the ISS will be following along relatively in heavy air quotes close behind it because it's still going to be on the same essential trajectory, just obviously not returning into the atmosphere. Hopefully, if there was some sort of emergency, that would be bad. But so that will be following along the same trajectory, so you might be able to see that too.
And of course, there have obviously been the maneuvers as well that they've been doing to kind of move away from the ISS and then align itself with the proper azimuth, so to speak, the orientation of where they are so that they can splash down in that exact point near San Diego in that splashdown zone. And Dragon, very reliable up to this point in terms of hitting the splashdown zones pretty darn close to on the money.
Yep. And I saw somebody mention it in chat. If you're in the Lompoc area, you'll probably just have to look straight up, I would guess.
And then you could see there the orbit map for Crew-11. Well, it's not in orbit anymore. You could see the end point there. That is when it will sort of leave space, leave the orbit, and then work its way for the official splashdown. See things starting to slow down now. Was it about 28,300 kilometers an hour? Now down to 26,500 kilometers an hour. Still 300 kilometers in altitude, but that should be dropping shortly. Holy hype trains. As we wait for that official confirmation of everything with the nose cone closing and everything good to go, I need to thank some people here. Patrick, good to see you again. Again, all the best wishes for your recovery. 50 gifted red team memberships. Wowzers. Thank you, Patrick. And
thank you.
Yeah, we're all thinking about you and hoping you're healing well. So good to have you with us. Mats, Mike Alpha Tango Sierra, gifting 20 red team memberships too on top of that. And can't forget Danger Moo, Apocalypse Cow, gifting 10 red team memberships as well. And Chromatic, gifting another red team membership too. Thank you, everybody, for the generosity and the kindness. We all appreciate it. And if you did get one of those gifted memberships, please make sure to give them a thank you as well. And enjoy all of the perks that come along with it. Check out the member section if you did get it. See some of those photos and awesome things that our team is working on. You won't be upset. And of course, as we get into the Heart of Artemis stuff, we'll be posting some of our Artemis photos there too for members. I know I plan on taking a bunch this Saturday.
There's going to be so many. I don't even have to guess. There's going to be so many good photos coming out of rollout.
Yeah. So at this point now, 25 minutes away from the targeted splashdown time. Of course, that is subject to change plus or minus a couple of minutes. That is just the estimated time they give us. The onboard vehicle was making all the final calculations and adjustments. And then, of course, once they hit the atmosphere, it's up to Earth's atmosphere to take care of the rest.
Yep.
Let's see here. Again, if you have any questions while we're waiting for the splashdown, about the return, you can tag us at NSF or at NASASpaceflight for those questions too. But right now, again, we're expecting the recovery vessel is Shannon, expected to be floating ready to go nearby. And of course, those fast boats that go out with Shannon floating nearby with the crews ready to immediately drive out to the Crew Dragon Endeavor,
Cone
which
secured
will
for entry.
and there we go.
All right.
The nose cone closed and latched in place. It is secured. There we go. They are now on their way home. And we're probably about an hour and a half away from that capsule door opening, the hatch opening for the first time in 5 months. Because when they go on board the ISS, inside that nose cone, in addition to the thrusters and everything, is the international docking adapter. That's what they use to dock to the ISS. That's how they go between Crew Dragon and the ISS. So that capsule on the hatch on the side of the capsule, the last time that it was open, the crew was boarding it outside of Launch Complex 39A. So it's been quite a while, and they are ready for it.
You were talking about it. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, you were talking about it earlier with the recovery procedures and stuff. How wild must it be to be able to say, oh, yeah, I'm the person that jumps into the ocean so I can hook up spacecraft onto it?
That's my favorite part, and Carson, I know, was pointing out in the back channel too. Pretty much all of us, our favorite part here is getting to watch them jump into the water, crawl across Crew Dragon like Spider-Man,
Entry
rig it up,
briefing. Report when ready to copy.
and then splash down. Let's listen into the briefing.
Ready to copy.
Okay, starting with timeline. We're completely on time for the previously briefed timeline. Splashdown per your displays at 0841 Zulu. Com blackout start 0828. Blackout end 0835. How copy?
Copy, we are on time for 0841 splashdown per the timeline. Com blackout start 0828. Com blackout end 0835.
That's a good readback. We have a nominal vehicle status. We're tracking an on-target arrival to San Diego with pristine weather conditions for splashdown. Recovery team is on site and ready to support.
Dragon copies, nominal vehicle, excellent weather, and teams are ready to support.
And with that, please report when tablets are secure, restraints are tightened, and visors are down.
SpaceX Dragon, tablets secure, restraints tightened, and visors down.
SpaceX copies all.
And that all sounds good. That's what we like to hear. As pointing out, putting the tablets away, they do have iPads with them, and they are usually strapped to their leg, which once you're in weightlessness, you don't really have to worry about it. But they do add an extra strap to keep it on their leg when they are re-entering, because the last thing you want is any objects flying around inside the capsule as you're re-entering and potentially jarring loose. So everything is tightened and secured. They also tighten their straps so that they stay within their seats, which, by the way, all of these seats have special liners inside of them that are molded specifically to each crew member. In doing so, it's also a material that is meant to ease the pressures against them as they feel G's for the first time. So it's meant to cushion some of that G-force, kind of like a memory foam, but a lot stronger.
You know, I gotta say, Sawyer, pristine weather conditions does not sound like a heavy marine layer having fog over there. Sounds pretty nice, if I gotta be honest. And for folks who were asking about it, it sounds like I would guess, the best time to see any sort of light show, if you will, which will be the capsule re-entering the atmosphere. is going to be at Pacific time of 12:28 is when the blackout starts. So that's where we're going to start seeing more of the plasma building up on the underside of the spacecraft. And then that lasts until what will be 12:35.
Exactly. And that is, as you pointed out, the plasma builds up so much that it literally blocks the ability for the communications to get out or to be received by the crew. It sort of acts as a shield there. So once the plasma thins out a bit, they'll be able to recommunicate. But in doing so, they call that a comms blackout, or LOS, which stands for loss of signal. Then, of course, the hope is that 7 minutes later, they will AOS, have an acquisition of signal afterwards. So those are things to keep an eye out for, but confirming that they are targeting 41 minutes past the hour for Crew-11 splashdown. And we're going to hopefully try and see if we can see any of that plasma from the International Space Station. We've seen it before, so that camera on the left from Sen.
Dragon SpaceX, can you repeat?
Temporarily opening seat 3 visor to adjust glasses.
Copy, adjusting glasses. You go for that.
That's a new one.
That is a new one.
I'm trying to think if seat 3, if that is Mike Fink. I know he does wear glasses, so maybe just a chance to readjust it. But part of the reason they don't really want to reopen their visors is because each of their spacesuits are basically their own spacecraft inside a spacecraft. With the visors closed and locked, the suit is pressurized.
So
that way, if something...
5 minutes until predicted comm blackout. See you on the other side at 0835.
Copy 0835. Talk to you soon.
That way, in the event of a depressurization issue of some kind, the crew still has their own mini spacesuit that will stay pressurized and allow them to stay safe.
Yep.
So now they should be getting close to entering the thicker parts of the atmosphere here. As you heard, getting ready to enter that communications blackout in about 5 minutes or so from now. Also getting confirmation that they are indeed purging the suits of that nitrox. So getting rid of any of that kind of extra atmosphere and going for their super inflated pressurized suits with the extra oxygen in case needed. 16 minutes, 45 seconds to go until the expected splashdown time. And hopefully soon we'll start getting some visuals. Again, on the left is a live view from the International Space Station from Sen, our camera partner aboard the ISS. With live views, we have seen some of that plasma reentry in the past from these cameras. So that's why we have that view up on the screen as well to keep an eye out for. Right now, though, everything looking good. On board, the Crew-11 astronauts with Commander Zena Cardman, pilot Mike Fink, mission specialists Camilla Yui and Oleg Platonov on board.
We're about 3 minutes away now from entering blackout.
And there we go. Actually, have a look inside right now. You can see the crew there. I believe that is Oleg on the left, and then in the middle, that is Mike Fink. To the right of Mike, you can kind of see her boots. That's Zena Cardman. And all the way in the back there was Camilla Yui. And now you can see from that angle, there is Zena in the front and Mike directly to her right. So they're
those
different.
tablets as little knee boards. Got some information on there, which is cool to see them using.
Yep, you can see jotting down when those blackout times work. So the same ones I have jotted down on mine.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
But yes, so right now their seats are upwards so that they're able to see the screens and everything that is going on, be able to access those touch screens, deal with all the information on there, and monitor the progress of their reentry. We will hear right before they get down to splashdown about seat rotations to be in the optimal position for when they splash down to basically brace themselves for a more gentle splashdown. Although it is kind of hard for something to be gentle. When you're hitting the water, it's still like 20 to 30 miles an hour. It's not the most comfortable.
Also, a cool little note at the bottom right of the screen in SpaceX's UI is showing the little thrusters, the reaction control system thrusters that are firing to help orient the spacecraft to make sure that everything is situated as they want it to be as they get into the thicker portion of the atmosphere.
Exactly. You can see those are the smaller thrusters. Obviously, those big ones towards the middle there, those are inside the nose cone, closed away, and they will not be using those.
Mm.
So expect those little outside pulses to occur. Already now down to 120 kilometers in altitude. So far, everything looks good. It's really cool seeing them inside as they go through all of their checklists here.
Yeah, it really is. Actually, yeah, through the window you can start to see it starting to lighten up. That's the plasma starting to light up.
Oh
over there.
yeah, right by Xena's knee.
Yeah.
You can see the plasma effect. That is really cool.
That is.
So if you're along the West Coast, now's your time. Head outside and take a look if you haven't already.
We need one of our cameras just in the window all the time.
Also, you can see them tracking there on the map on the right side, exactly where they are, as well as on the center. And then the view looking up, it looks like from inside where the nose cone would be, keeping track of the thrusters. Also, eventually where the drogue chutes will deploy, which for that sequence, it will be a drogue chute that deploys first to help slow them down, followed by the beautiful mains that we will hopefully see afterwards. If all goes well, we will see those 4 giant mains and then the capsule splashing down. And we should be coming up now on that comms blackout. And we have confirmation of LOS, loss of signal. A reminder that it's not anything to worry about. This is the planned loss of signal. So all of this is expected at this point.
Yep.
That will continue for till approximately 8:35. There is the potential that it may be a little bit earlier or a little bit later that they do come out of that blackout. So if it's not exactly at 8:35, is not anything to worry about either. Spacecraft now under 100 kilometers in altitude after spending time at over 400 kilometers aboard the ISS for the last 5 months. And yet, the speed still very high at the moment, even with that plasma that we were able to see through the windows. But you will watch that decrease very, very rapidly as they get to the thicker part here.
We're fortunate to have a nice thick atmosphere because it obviously serves as our air, but also helps slow down our spacecraft.
Exactly. So far, everything appears to be looking good. You can kind of see that track in the bottom right there, a little bit of where they're located. Looks like right now passing past Alaska, working on their way kind of by the Canadian coast, heading towards Washington State.
Yep, it's going currently from northwest to southeast, so going to be going right along the west coast of the US.
And 90 seconds to the official entry interface, as they call it. So while, of course, they're still getting some plasma now, that is when they will get into the thick parts of the atmosphere. That is when that heat shield is going to be doing the majority of the work. And that is when temperatures will reach 3,500 degrees Celsius plus as it deals with the friction from Earth's atmosphere. It does indeed have the heat shield, though, on the outside that is meant to protect from that underneath, as well as some thermal blanketing along the side. So those will all help protect the crew inside. But the tiling kind of on the bottom, that's the brunt of it. The thermal blanket still works, but it's meant for the less hot parts. But expect it to still come back pretty scorched and looking like a toasted marshmallow.
Mm-hmm.
Now about 82 kilometers in altitude. And keep in mind, not necessarily getting live data from the spacecraft, because not only does that mean that they lose communications with the crew verbally, it does also interrupt the data stream, because there is a giant thick wall of plasma now kind of encapsulating the vehicle, blocking those communications. This is something that is
trailing
happening.
a ways behind, too.
Yeah. This is something that's happened throughout the course of spaceflight. It is not anything new. It is something that they are used to. This goes all the way back to the early days, going to Gemini and Apollo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they have those famous sequences like in the movie Apollo 13 that folks might have seen, where there's the tense few minutes of blackout where nobody knows what's going on. They're not sure if everything was safe enough, and then they actually see with from the helicopters that the capsule's coming back down. So fortunately, things have improved, but there's still some physics issues of trying to get radio signals through plasma doesn't really work very well. So there is still that element of having this sort of tense moment or tense few minutes of trying to make sure that everything is going to be okay and just waiting to see how it all turns out. Because either way, it's coming out.
Approximately 9 minutes until splashdown. At this point, about 3.5 minutes left in this communications blackout. That extending to about 12:35 a.m. Pacific time, 3:35 a.m. Eastern time, 8:35 a.m. UTC. And that should be followed 6 minutes later by the actual splashdown. As right now we continue to look in at the Mission Control Center in Hawthorne, California, inside SpaceX headquarters there. So once we do have the entry interface and everything, at about 5 minutes from now, we should expect the first drogue chute to deploy. Those will help slow the vehicle down, and then that will be followed approximately a minute later by the main parachutes deploying, of which there are 4. That will then help slow the vehicle down, again, continuing pretty decent pace at that point, about 20-30 miles an hour before splashing down at approximately 12:41 a.m. local time, 3:41 a.m. Eastern.
And it doesn't need all 4 of those parachutes. It's for safety redundancy. So if there is ever an issue, which I've seen before, I think when it was coming down off the coast of Florida one of the times, they didn't have one of the chutes deploy all the way, but 2 or 3.
We have
Hey, here's a
views here.
few. Fantastic.
I
So if
believe
you're in
this
the
is-
LA area, northwest should be what you're seeing there.
I believe this is one of the aerial tracking cameras from NASA when they're able to recenter it within the vehicle. They do have planes that fly about as well as thermal cameras on board. That is indeed a NASA track, which they lost briefly there, but you could see that giant ball of plasma. Again, if anyone's outside and can see it, take a look for it, take videos, send it to us on the socials. I'd love to see it.
Yes.
There you go. You can see behind her, behind her shoulder, you can see the tracking camera and the mission control screen there behind her right shoulder, or her left, our right.
That looks like it's the thermal view.
From the WB-57 is what it appears to be, the NASA imaging camera that they have.
Yep.
And they cut away from the good view.
Right. Hey, could you guys plug us into that one? Do you have an HDMI we could plug?
I see a lot of people in chat saying they see it.
Awesome.
That is amazing. If you're able to see it, again, love hearing it. Let us know in chat. If you have pictures, send them to us. X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, any of those. Tag us. We want to see it.
Yeah, I've seen rockets launch and come back. I've never seen a capsule come back, so absolutely share it with us.
I've managed to see a capsule come back about 10 seconds worth from the cloud.
Wow.
SpaceX Dragon, loud and clear.
We have you the same, loud and clear. Expect automated chute deployment.
Copy, automated chute deploy expected.
We have them back. There's the voice. Acquisition of signal right on time. You could also hear the excitement in Xena Cardman's voice. Look at that. Even with the communications blackout, you could still see that
it's
plasma.
cooling down. Oh, that's so cool.
It's definitely starting to cool down now. Again, as pointed out,
all right, so there we heard
will be the deployment of the drogue chutes, which will start the slowing down process. There will be pyrotechnics that fire it out from the top of Dragon, and those will go for about a minute. Again, will be followed after that by the deployment of the main parachutes, of which there are 4. Again, gorgeous views we're hearing from people.
Yeah,
and
lots
that
of people in the
from
LA area.
there's WB-57
Expect
tracking
nominal
camera.
altitude for drogue chute deploy.
Dragon copies, expecting nominal altitude.
And they will warn
So
them
we'll
ahead of time, right before the deploy. They will tell them to brace for ship deploy because it can be quite jarring.
Mm-hmm.
Great to see live views. Great to see them coming back. This is what we want to see.
I always feel like that must be maybe the strangest sensation of going through atmospheric reentry and you're getting, some of those G's, maybe some of the buffeting, but then just everything kind of calming down as you're just in free fall waiting for the chutes to deploy.
Exactly. But you're back on Earth at least, getting that gravity again and realizing you're basically home here.
Yep.
Drogue window.
Drogue brace.
As you heard, they're within that window for the drogues to deploy, and they are braced for it. Because it will be quite dramatic, and then once the drogues
Dragon
start
has
to inflate,
saved the propulsion system as we anticipate drogue deployment any moment now.
Even had some folks seeing it from the Oregon coast. That's fantastic.
Drogue parachutes are utilized to stabilize and decelerate the vehicle further prior to deployment of the main parachutes.
Of course, we're still waiting for it. It's within a window of the deploy.
Drogue should be deploying here in a couple seconds, and mains will follow in about 1 minute.
There we go. There's the drogue.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Already west of San Diego.
There we have visual confirmation of drogue deploy.
Visual 2 healthy drogues.
And the cruise ship. Oh no.
Kind of a cool shot.
Flashbacks.
I think we had the recovery vessel in the background there just momentarily. Main parachutes deploying in about 20 seconds.
That was a cruise ship, not a recovery vessel. But continuing down, next up will be the deployment of those 4 main chutes.
The main parachutes deploy when the vehicle's about 119 miles per hour and around 6,000 feet.
It's like Kerbal when it says, not safe to deploy, safe to deploy. That's why they gave them a window. And that is the separation of those drogues, pulling out the mains. I see 4 mains.
There we can see visual confirmation of deployment of the 4 mains.
Visual 4 healthy mains.
Inflate. Beautiful.
It will take them a little bit to inflate. That's okay. And there we go.
These main parachutes help decelerate the spacecraft even further. So they deploy around 119 miles per hour, and they'll decelerate it down to about 15, 16 miles per hour, and that will be the speed in which the spacecraft is traveling upon splashdown. Once again, we're anticipating splashdown at 12:41 a.m.
Meters.
Copy, 1,000.
1,000
We'll
meters
now
up.
begin to hear Crew-11 Commander Zena Cardman call out the altitude from her seat there in Dragon Endeavour.
And you could hear the excitement in Zena's voice. That makes it even
SpaceX's
more
mission
exciting.
control team in Hawthorne continues to report the precise landing coordinates to the recovery team.
800 meters.
Copy, 800.
Those are the altitude callouts. Again, you can see it in the
Those
bottom
main
left as well from the
parachutes now
SpaceX
fully
overlay.
reefed or inflated.
And it does have a little
We
sideways
ensure that the
rotation. That's
parachutes
okay, though.
inflate
See, it's
over
drifting
a few
fine.
seconds to help reduce the shock to the system.
600 meters.
600 meters.
Copy, 600.
About 30 seconds.
All around great views of Dragon Endeavour as it continues its way back to Earth.
Copy, 400. Crew are braced.
Standing by for splashdown.
100 meters up. Stand by.
Oh, you can see the reflection off the water. Splashdown.
Splashdown of Crew-11. After 167 days in space, Dragon and NASA astronauts Zena Cardman and Mike Fink, Kimya Yui of JAXA, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Oleg Platonov are back on Earth.
You can already see the
Dragon,
fast boats and the
SpaceX, we
lights.
see splashdown.
SpaceX Dragon, copy, concur, splashdown, and mains are cut. We are in 4.800.
SpaceX copies, and we see the same. Mains cut. On behalf of SpaceX and NASA, welcome home, Crew-11.
SpaceX Dragon, it's so good to be home. With deep gratitude to the teams who got us there and back.
Vehicle safety verifications in progress. We'll report back when recovery personnel are en route.
Dragon copies.
Everything looked absolutely beautiful there. Welcome home to the crew of 4. Zena Cardman, Mike Fink, Kimya Yui, and Oleg Platonov safely back on Earth, floating in the Pacific Ocean after a successful mission to the ISS. And you can see there, that is Crew Dragon Endeavour in what appears to be Recovery 1. So there's different modes. That would be, the best one is Recovery 1, where it is upright and floating. And that's what it looks like at this point. So next up will be, of course, checking in on the crew. We may hear them call for PMCs, private medical conferences, or at least conferences with some of the flight surgeons. That is normal, not even specifically related to the emergency, or not the emergency, the medical reason for entering early. They will continue to do those anyway. And while that's all going on, as mentioned, they are currently purging out any remaining of those noxious gases that they use in those Draco thrusters. They're hypergolic fuels. And then once those are all cleared out, the crew will come in on their fast boats, use their little sniffer sticks to check to make sure it's safe. And as soon as it is, we will see them literally climb aboard Dragon on the outside and load it up. And look at those gorgeous blue waters, by the way. As you can see, the recovery ship Shannon out there as well. Also being told that there are dolphins around the capsule.
Everybody's going out to check out the capsule, make sure it's in good state.
So yeah, you can see some of those fast boats. We will have to keep an eye out, though, to see if we can see any
we are in Stable 1.
SpaceX copies. Stable 1.
And there's the official confirmation of that. Stable 1. Upright, vertical, and floating. That's exactly what we want.
Yeah.
This looks like a gorgeous drone view. Again, keep an eye out for dolphins. Reminds me a bit of the Hawaiian shirts. Actually, in fact, the Hawaiian shirts that we have in the shop at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. This was not planned. There is a capsule splashed down with dolphins around it. We're like, oh yeah, that's what happened on Crew 9, figuring, well, that won't happen again because that was East Coast. Apparently it's happening again with a Crew Dragon splashed in the water with the dolphins around it. So
everybody make sure you get your Crew-11 splashdown shirts. Quantities are limited.
We got plenty of the Hawaiian shirts. Now, I promise that was not meant to be a plug. It was just, the first thing that came to mind is, oh yeah, we've had this with other Crew Dragons before. It's pretty cool. We actually have it on a shirt. But continuing on here again, we will stick with this all the way through until all of the crew members are off of Dragon. So we'll be here with you, talking you through, walking you through everything that happens as they get ready to safe the vehicle and bring those 4 astronauts onto the deck of the recovery ship and safely back on dry land eventually. starting on the dry deck of the ship and then onto dry land.
And there's those shirts right there.
It actually is, yeah. And if you notice, there are dolphins on it. That was because Crew-9, when we made these shirts, had just had the dolphins swimming around it after it splashed down. And here we go again. Dolphins swimming around Crew Dragon. This is a view from one of our team members here at NSF, Eric Frazier, catching a view of the re-entry. Look at that.
That's beautiful.
And that's one of the weirdest things when you see it in person.
Approach. Expect personnel alongside in 1 minute.
Copy. Thank you.
So those fast boats will be on their way now over within 1 minute. But the amazing thing is you can kind of see it in that view. Most of the time you kind of expect like a straight orange streak going by. But what you don't realize when you see it, it's like, oh wait, it's not really straight. You kind of see these little squiggles and jags in it from it adjusting in the atmosphere. And then of course, the pieces flying off, which is mainly just the plasma and parts that are meant to burn off on the heat shield. But It looks sparkier than a normal kind of, than an entry you would expect, especially compared to something like a Falcon 9 RTLS. But yeah, shout out to the team for getting those videos. And everyone out there that was able to see it. There you go. You can see the first fast boats coming in.
Oh, there's the second one.
And 3 of them, I think. Or is it 2? It's hard to tell. You've got the fast boat, and then you've got the jet ski.
So yeah. That's another wild job. Oh, I ride jet skis out to spacecraft.
But now they're going to be doing all of their exterior inspections of Dragon, checking out how the capsule looks, how everything's doing. Again, as mentioned, making sure it's safe to be out there. So you'll notice some gas masks and other protective equipment out there for the first team that gets out there. So don't be surprised. It's not there's a contagion coming out or anything. It's not aliens. It's because of the hypergolic fuels. And there it is. There's that sniffer stick that I was talking about before. You can see that kind of glowing light at the end of it. You'll notice they stick those into the Draco thrusters, especially the ones near the nose cone there. And that is to look for the quantity of particles. Is it a lot? Is it a dangerous amount? Is there a leak of some kind? Did it not all purge out? These are the things that they're checking for. Again, you could see that mask on them as well. Just checking, making sure that everything is safe before the rest of the crews go in and start preparing the capsule for lift onto Shannon. I have to say, the water's very calm tonight. Sometimes you've seen a little on the rougher side of the waves. It almost looks like a lake more than an ocean right now.
Absolutely. One of the really cool things for me is just watching it slowly cool down. Like we're just seeing from this thermal camera.
Just and unfired ordnance checks, nominal. Rigging in progress. Approximately 25 minutes until capsule lift. Stand by for PMC. The next call you hear will be from SpaceX flight surgeon on Dragon to Ground Private.
There we got that call about PMC.
25 minutes until lift. Standing by for PMC.
There we go. And that's exactly what I was talking about before.
Yep.
They do that every mission. That is not because of the medical nature of their return. They do that after every single flight to check on the crew afterwards, make sure everyone's okay, see if anyone got sick on re-entry, if anyone's feeling a little woozy, struggling with the gravity. If so, they can provide extra things for them as soon as they are removed from the capsule once they get onto Shannon. Again, they have medical doctors waiting on board Shannon to check them out, to make sure they're okay. That they do that for everybody. And again, we'll also most likely see all of the crew members leave on a stretcher. That does not mean that all of them are sick, or doesn't indicate that that was because one of the crew members experienced an injury that required a stretcher. That is standard procedure for what they do for these crews that have returned after a long duration stay. And 166 days is plenty.
Yes, it is.
So yes, they did the sniffer sticks first. There was no leakage and no explosives that didn't fire. So now you can see them starting to put that hook around the top there of the nose cone. So they will start getting the rigging in place, getting it hooked on with these hooks in the meantime. And then once they're kind of up and around the nose cone, that's when we'll get to see the fun of the teams climbing all around it. You can even see there on the right side of the capsule from this view, you can see that the crew member there is not on a boat. They are hanging on to the outside of Dragon.
Dragon to ground is no longer privatized.
Dragon
Last of
copy.
the capsule.
Go. Yeah, it's fun watching the fast boats go by, and then the person literally climbing atop it to get everything settled into place and locked into place so that when they lift Crew Dragon out of the water, it stays attached to the hoist. While they're doing this, let me answer some questions that we got here from Super Chats, both from Crafty Geek. Crafty Geek asking, why does Starship not have an LOS? Is it because of vehicle size? No, it's because of a couple of reasons. One, Starlink. They use Starlink on board. So they've tested it, they've had it proven, and that's why a lot of the times you'll see on their views at the top it says provided by Starlink. Also, the orbit at which it's coming in from is not really an orbit. Of course, it's coming up from an altitude, but the suborbital trajectory makes it not as severe, but it's still get quite the plasma view.
Yeah, it's not quite as fast, but because what actually causes the blackout is the plasma in front of the vehicle, and because they can use Starlink to basically point behind the vehicle.
Transitioning forward link, comm will be unavailable for approximately 5 minutes.
Then they can avoid the blackout.
Exactly, and this is a different comm blackout as they just reconfigure all of their communication systems now that they're back on Earth and on ground and don't have to go through space.
Yep.
And Crafty Geek also asking, has any Crew Dragon splashdown yet involved dealing with a configuration other than Stable 1? I don't believe so. There may have been one that was slightly tilted sideways, but not anything that was ever severe enough that it was anything terrible. So I believe they've all been basically Stable 1 or close to it, unless someone in the back channel corrects me.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
And then also here, 51 Mustang Flyer saying, I just watched this from the coast. It was incredible to see it from the ground, as well as hear the sonic boom after a few minutes.
Cool.
Wow. That's
awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And we're getting views in as well. This, a view from a viewer of some kind. Rack Dryer, I believe is his name. Someone who works over at Astroforge. With a 30-second exposure here of Dragon re-entering over Los Angeles tonight, shot from Mount Wilson, saying that they heard the sonic booms too. That is absolutely awesome. Despite being an NSF abandoner, Jack Byer, great shot there. And thank you for posting that.
I would definitely call it a pristine night for weather.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful there.
No clouds in the sky, just gorgeous shots here.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, for someone asking if they saw a shark or something, nope, that was dolphins. NASA confirmed and SpaceX confirmed that there are dolphins in the area. So if you see what looks like a dorsal fin or anything, yeah, that's a dolphin.
Just our friendly dolphins coming to investigate the the space program.
Yeah. Someone saying, yes, this is how to train your dragon in real life.
I'm okay with that.
Getting on it and wrangling it. And
yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. Again, I'm surprised people are saying that they also heard the audible sonic booms from this as well.
Yeah.
I've not heard one of those during a reentry, but that is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Only during RTLS missions. But yeah, as mentioned, they're kind of reconfiguring their comms out there. So hopefully we'll be getting
transition complete. Comm check.
We've got you loud and clear.
We have you the same.
All right. They've reconfigured the communications line there, communicating there with their version of the capsule communicator, which is the core, the Crew Operations Resource Engineer. And so right now they're finishing getting those lines on there. And once it is, you will start to see this. Shannon, the recovery vessel, back its way up towards Crew Dragon Endeavor. Again, the crew is still aboard the capsule at this time. But you can see it looks like most of those lines are almost on. Of course, what we're all waiting for is for the Wrangler, so to speak, to jump into the water, which is the final kind of tradition here that we've seen after all this time.
But that is certainly one toasted marshmallow.
Oh, yeah. And from this, you can kind of see the mechanism that they'll be using. So that sort of blue lines on each side with the hydraulic actuators, that is the kind of crane that will lower down around the capsule. Then they will attach the capsule with the rigging that they just added, and then it will raise back up and lift Dragon onto the deck, at which point it will be placed on that sort of cushioned ring, kind of donut there. And if you look towards the bottom left of said donut, you'll notice there are tracks. So it is on those tracks that will then retract it back, and that will bring it underneath a protective covering. And on top of that, it will bring it up against a spot where they will then be able to access the hatch, open it, and remove the crew.
I am curious about the difference between, for astronauts specifically, how it feels to do I'm going to say, generally soft landing in the ocean compared to something like Soyuz, because I've always heard Soyuz described as a gentle car crash for landing. So hopefully in the water, it's a little more gentle.
Yeah, if you've seen video from inside Soyuz during a landing, it's rough. It's apparently equivalent to a car crash at 40 miles an hour, 40 to 50.
Yeah.
This one is touching down at 15 to 20 miles an hour, although, again, on water, which is also not the most forgiving. If you go too fast, it's basically like crashing into concrete.
True.
Anyone who's done a belly flop can attest to that. The climber still attaching all of those lines too. I'm not sure exactly what else to call them.
I don't know.
The Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The SpaceX Spider-Man. And of course, the fast boat there continuing to give them more tools that are needed, handing it off.
Just don't drop it.
And again, a boat right up against it that about 25, 30 minutes ago was still in space. And here they are already back on Earth, right up against it, climbing on it and getting it ready. And you can also notice Shannon creeping closer in the background there, getting closer for that lift.
You can almost see the diver just doing their stretches, getting ready to jump off, go wrangle up a capsule.
Yeah, you can also see that bumper there on the back so that they don't accidentally smash the capsule into the vessel there. Looking like they got the thumbs up from the crew on the deck.
Mm-hmm. Looks like the small boat's kind of clearing out.
Yep, and you can see there those green lights up at the top. That is the heliport on top. So when we talk about the crew leaving, they will be placed on a helicopter and brought back to land. All of them have access to a hospital on standby if they need it. It's unclear if any of them will be going directly there, and if the affected astronaut, of which they have not named, in regards to the medical situation that forced this early return, they haven't said if they will also be going directly to that hospital or not. But the helicopter will be able to land there and return the crew back.
And maybe something worth mentioning is that there is going to be a press conference, Return to Earth news conference this morning, technically, at 5:45 a.m. Eastern. But NSF will not be covering that, but it may have more information. But that is that would be a long night for Sawyer to have to try and stay up for such a thing. So NSF will not be covering that tonight.
We will not be covering it live, but keep an ear out because we will still have somebody in that press conference. I believe NSF's Ryan Caton will be on there to ask any questions and listen in and fill us in on all of that information. So definitely stick around for that. We, of course, will not be broadcasting it. You'll be able to also keep up to date with everything related to the mission and the return and any other information we get on the socials and on our website, NASASpaceflight.com.
And don't forget your shirt. It comes with dolphins.
There we go. It looks like the fast boat doing a quick stop off there on the deck. Meanwhile, that one guy just hanging on still, just chilling on the side of Dragon there.
When you have the opportunity to hang out in a really cool place, you really take your time doing it.
I also love you can see the capsule spinning too, as he's now on the dark side of Dragon.
Just a slow rotation.
But everything with that looking good so far.
Keep looking for dolphins. Somebody said they saw one earlier. I missed it. I have not seen one, but it would be really cool to see one.
Along those lines, Eric Boyd with the $10 super chat saying, "Did I miss all the thanks for the fish? Thanks for all the fish comments."
Nice.
Very clever.
Now that song's gonna be stuck, which is good.
I can't see our spinning man. Where did he spin to? He's on the other side again.
On the far side, yeah.
But you see the crew there. The final hookups.
They're coming around.
Yep. Again, that person's still attached to Dragon, still working on all those lines. Just see the headlamp where they're looking and working. And from that view, you can also see the teams on that upper deck there waiting for their return in the black flight suits there. That is all of the SpaceX personnel. That'll also be the team that will help get them out of the capsule, that will then bring them in for their medical checkouts and everything on board the ship. Throwing a line there from Shannon onto the fast boat, hitting the guy in the head by accident there.
Still
that
counts.
looks like it hurt.
That still catch.
And then, of course, they'll bring that over, and then our gentleman attached to Dragon over there will attach that line to the capsule. You see him kind of adding it onto the hook there, getting it centered up, and you can see those lines that are attached to it that will then be placed around Crew Dragon, and that will be used to help lift it up onto the deck. Also worth noting, the entire process, they told the crew, 25 minutes from splashdown until on top of the deck. So within the next 3 to 5 minutes or so, we should see them on board the ship. It will then take a little longer, of course, for them to get out of the capsule, because they will do another final sniff and safety check once it's brought up. And then they also have to add a protective covering around the capsule door. Because there are sharp edges, they don't want people getting cut or any spacesuits getting damaged. So they'll put a little protective padding in there. Kind of looks like pool noodles almost, just to make the edges softer.
Safety is always the top priority in human spaceflight.
Exactly. There'll also be kind of a board that goes between them to help the astronauts slide out. They'll also have someone go in, take a look at them, talk to them, and if they're up for it, hopefully we will see a live view with a camera in there, get them waving, and then you can see in their eyes, okay, we're done waving, please get us out of here.
You know, I'm almost starting to wonder if they just changed procedures and the one person stays on the capsule the entire time now, instead of jumping in.
Rigging complete. Approximately 5 minutes until capsule lift.
Dragon copies. 5 minutes to lift.
Here we go. So 5 minutes more floating in the ocean. They're almost there.
So close.
So far, again, now Dragon up close to Shannon, and the team still working on getting all those wires there. So they've got the rigging on, now they're hooking up all the wires, and you can see that sort of hemicircle lift there, lowering down to add some slack to the wires and the ropes that are attached to the capsule. Once the person is off and all of those lines are set to go, it will then lift backwards, which will raise the capsule upwards.
a nice spot for it to nestle in with the curvature of the heat shield to settle in that sort of big circle we saw earlier from the overhead view. You can kind of see the pads of it on the right side there, but then that'll help keep it nice and secure in place.
Yes, the dragon's nest for it
Thank you.
to lay down.
Yeah. Yep.
You can see still giving the hand signals to the team on the deck with that little tap on the hat.
Yep.
There we go. You can start to see some tension on those wires now and on those lines. The person's still on there making sure everything's good while they're on there before they jump off and go, actually, can you go back? We missed something.
Yeah.
And there he goes. Splash.
Yep. Good jump.
Crew bracing.
That is the best part, is them jumping in and the crew being told to brace for lift. So now we will see that mechanism start to raise up, and the capsule will start to lift out of the water. And of course, you will see a whole bunch of water pour out from underneath it as it lifts up for what's gotten into some of those small thrusters and nooks and crannies and things. Also, I love the drone view for this.
Yeah, I was just going to say. Yeah.
We normally only see it from the deck. This is great.
Yeah. This nice slow zoom out is fantastic.
And there we go. It looks like it is lifting. You can start to see more of the capsule popping out of the water here. It is not the most gentle, in that you will start to see it kind of bob up and down as it does it, which if you've been in space for a while and then floating in the ocean already and then the up and down,
yeah,
it's going to be probably rough for some people's stomachs.
Hope nobody gets motion sick.
Earth adaptation sickness as opposed to space adaptation sickness.
Yep.
There it goes, now really lifting up out of the water.
Yep, and then they're using those sidelines to help orient it better. Like, obviously, the main cable up there is doing the lifting, but then the crew that's on the deck there is helping to maintain its orientation right way.
Yeah, and these crews have practice capsules that they can use to stay fresh on how to lift it out and work on the rigging and all of the lift procedures. Obviously, it's a little different when you have the real thing with 4 people on board.
Big props to the drone operator on this one. This is gorgeous. I love it.
Spectacular. And there we go. Now working to lower it down into the nest. You can see the scorch marks underneath, just how pure white it is. Those were black tiles under there.
Mm-hmm. Still got a little bit of seawater there that'll slosh out as it gets settled into the middle.
Yeah, you can see it hanging in that little cutout right there in the center left of the screen. Of course, trying to be as gentle as possible since the crew is still inside. And gentle. See them telling it to move it just to the right a little bit.
Yep, doing checks. It is.
They also have to orient it specifically so that the hatch is facing directly center, because it has to line up with the opening that they have on that upper deck. There is a little cutout, and that cutout is meant specifically for the crews to be able to access that hatch and get the crew out. That's also why the platform is elevated, because as you can see, the capsule entry, that hatch is elevated on the vehicle too. Bird is in the nest.
Yep, settled in.
And so now, as mentioned, there are those tracks on the deck there. It will start to roll along those tracks and bring it in to the awaiting crews on the deck of the ship to help get the crew out of the capsule. A reminder, that capsule that you see there in the center of your screen, that hatch, has not been opened.
Welcome aboard the recovery vessel. Recovery personnel are completing their final checks and stand by for translation to the egress platform.
Dragon copies.
Awesome. So again, that's the translation we were talking about on those tracks. You'll notice some of them are still wearing those protective masks. And that is just as an extra precaution. They'll continue to do checks and see putting those plugs into those thrusters as an extra safety measure before they translate it backwards. But yes, that hatch has not been opened for over 166 days. When the crew gets onto and out of the International Space Station, there is a different hatch located inside that nose cone there, part of the International Docking Adapter. So the side hatch remains closed from the moment they are sealed in about 3 hours before launch until they are on the deck of this recovery ship. But again, there are really caustic chemicals that they use for the thrusters on those. I believe monomethylhydrazine and hydrogen tetroxide are typically the chemicals that are used. Nasty stuff.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, you don't want to mess with that stuff for sure.
Yeah, don't breathe this.
Nope.
By the way, we're waiting for this. Leon Munoz asking roughly what would have been the speed as it went over LA. The sonic boom was about 5 minutes after we saw it. My guess is it would still probably be, I think it was like 8,000 kilometers an hour. So still very fast, still above the speed of sound for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
And yeah, I'm amazed that people were able to hear the sonic booms. That's great.
Yeah. It's always cool finding out different entry profiles, I guess I could say, like getting sonic booms off of vehicles because it's different for all of them. Like the shuttle had, what was it, three sonic booms that came off of it. The Falcon 9 has two technically. Like it's
It
sometimes
depends on where
three.
you're
Yeah,
located. Sometimes you hear
exactly.
2, sometimes you hear 3 for
Yeah.
Dragon. Or for Falcon. The closer you are, you'll hear 3. If you're a little further away, it's 2.
Mm-hmm. So it's always interesting, like seeing how those propagate in different ways for different vehicles, just based on the shape.
Continuing to put those plugs in place. So holding me to plug and play here. And doing those final checks. Again, additional sniffs, making sure everything is safe for the crew to be out of the capsule and for the teams that are on the deck to remove all of their PPE, their personal protective equipment, and be able to safely breathe the air around them. It looks like the teams there are wrapping up, putting their gear away. I like how one of the sticks they just slide it right in that little grate there in the little track.
This is where this goes.
Yeah. We'll get it later.
Yeah.
And it looks like they were getting a ladder there for a moment.
There's Jared Isaacman.
That is current NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman, as you pointed out there, yeah. Jared himself has returned twice aboard a Crew Dragon vehicle, commanding both Inspiration 4 and Polaris Dawn. So he's gone through this exact procedure twice. I wouldn't be surprised if he's talking with the teams there, talking them through exactly what's going on at that moment, what the crew is thinking and feeling. Also, that is a very tall ladder.
Yes, it is. Jared will be talking in about, 4.5 hours to give some more info about the return during the Return to Earth news conference. We will have Ryan covering that, but not live, just there in the call asking questions if needed. And we will not be doing a live stream of that, but it will be covered.
Exactly. The whole spacecraft, by the way, is about, I believe, 8 meters tall. It's about 25-ish feet tall. So that's a tall ladder. I have to double check whether that includes the height of the trunk or not. Everything looking good there. again, we should start to see that translation, as they call it, towards the deck. Or the higher deck, I guess, because it's already on the deck. It looks like attaching that tow cable to help it.
Yep.
This is like when you land at the airport and it's like, yes, we made it home. We made it in early. And then, oh, sorry, we don't have a gate for you. Just
It's
hang
never
out.
early. No matter how much they say, yeah, we're looking to get you about 20 minutes early. It doesn't matter. You are either going to leave late or you're going to get there and have to wait. It's always on time or late.
But like for this, oh yeah, we'll get you on in 25 minutes. That's great. They did, but getting them out of the capsule is another story. So again, it's like when you land at an airport, oh, we don't have a gate for you. We're just going to taxi around or sit here and wait for it to open, that kind of thing. And there it goes. There's the translation. Of course, the water splashing out of that giant hole there.
You go.
And as I was pointing out, there is that cutout in that upper level that we were talking about, which is where the hatch will line up so they can get them out. Meanwhile, the team's now doing a kind of rinse off of those parts of Dragon that have been contaminated potentially by those hypergolic propellants. Just an extra step to clean everything out and make it safe for the people who don't have to wear those masks as they come back in. Doing those final adjustments to bring it as close as possible. Kind of space equivalent of a jet bridge here.
I would be worried if I got off an airplane and everybody had masks on, like those kind of masks specifically.
Yeah. Respirators and all that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Like, should I know something? I wasn't briefed on this.
With that cleaned out, you can see there some of those hoses that they had are going to be stowed away. And now, of course, cleaning off the hatch. And checking to make sure that there's, once again, no dangerous chemicals around, nothing in hazardous levels. And as soon as that's given the okay, you'll see them all take their masks off. And there we go. And then you know it's safe. And now we will start to see more people make their way out from underneath where this camera is located. That includes, it looks like Bill Ingalls is one of the NASA photographers out there too, if I'm seeing that right.
And again, this will be the first time
for side hatch opening and egress. It's been an honor flying with you.
Standing by for side hatch, and the honor is ours. Thank you so much.
Waiting for the old line. We know you have many
Good
options,
words
but
from
we
the
thank
Corps.
you for flying with SpaceX. They used to do that for a while. We thank you for flying with SpaceX. And there we go. The hatch is open for the first time in about 5 months.
Do you think one of the folks that stands off to the side just says, thank you, okay, bye, bye, thank you, thank you? Wow.
So now the flight surgeon is going to go in and check on the crew. And as we were talking about earlier, that is the protective guard that they are placing around the outside of the hatch. I joke, it's kind of like pool noodles, but it's basically protective for those sharp edges that are around there to make it easier for crews to get in and out and not risk any injury to both the astronauts as well as the I guess they're boat ninjas instead of pad ninjas at this point.
Yeah. Does it make them pirate ninjas? I don't know.
We jokingly call them the pad ninjas because of the black flight suits.
Yes.
So at this point, they're, of course, talking with the crew, checking in on everybody, making sure everyone's good to go. If they give the okay, sometimes they will allow for a camera to look inside the hatch and give a little wave. But then the next thing that we will see is there will be a long board that will be brought out that will be used to bridge that little gap there between the inside of the capsule and make it easier to help slide the astronauts out. Then we will also see a stretcher, which again, as we mentioned earlier, you will see a stretcher that is normal, that is expected, that happens on every long duration return for a Crew Dragon mission. It is done as an extra precaution to help them deal with all of the re-entry sickness and everything and getting readjusted to Earth's gravity after being weightless for 5+ months. So it's not something unique to the medical nature of this return. It is just a medical precaution regardless. See, it looks like more still photos. There's the video.
Oh, hey, yeah, nice.
There you go. You can see everyone pretty happy. Xena Cardman ecstatic.
Yeah, great spirits all around.
You could hear it in her voice, and you could just see the excitement there. That was Xena's first space flight, by the way. And what a flight. To be able to command Crew Dragon and then spend 5 months on the ISS and a beautiful return.
Absolutely. Less than ideal circumstances that brought them home early, but just absolutely a gorgeous return.
Yep, and now we'll see them getting everything ready for the egress, as it's called, when they get everyone out of the capsule. So you'll see kind of this little bridge put into place to get everyone out and make it easier for everyone to get out of there. Of course, grabbing those tablets that they had on their thighs, too. In addition to tablets, there are also little pouches that they're able to keep snacks and personal belongings in for that long wait between undocking and re-entry. So it's less mass that they have to take out in addition to the crew. So they're removing all that stuff. They're also going to be removing the footrests for each of the crew members. That way it makes it easier to get access to each of them, less things they have to fight against inside the capsule to help each of them out of their seats. So that's what you're seeing them remove right now.
Is the plank that you were talking about before?
Exactly. Kind of like a slide board. Kind of get it in there, get them on, and then slide the board out just to make it easier.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see what order everyone gets taken out. A lot of it has to do with the location of where the seats are. So we'll see what order they go in.
Nobody wants to have to stoop through a small door after you've been in space for 166 days.
Yeah. And there you can kind of see the recovery helicopters and things floating around. So that is the location of the splashdown, where that helicopter is there on that flight tracking software. It is heading out to the to Shannon. As we pointed out earlier, there is that helipad right on top of the ship. It is on its way out to go pick up the crew. And just doing final checks on the crew inside, getting everyone ready. And as I was talking about, there is the stretcher. Totally normal. So if you see people in the media tomorrow going, oh, it was so dangerous, they had to take them out on a stretcher, go ahead and correct them in the comments. This is normal procedure.
Yep.
This doesn't indicate who the afflicted astronaut was. It doesn't say, oh, that was such a severe injury that they should be taken out on a stretcher. It's literally just standard procedure.
All a part of getting accustomed to Earth gravity.
Yeah, especially after 166 days. Your body gets quite used to 0G. So once you get to 1G again, it can feel more like 3G than 1G. Oh, G. I said G a lot.
It's true.
Waiting for that egress. Getting the crew members loaded up. We'll have to see who comes out first.
Drum roll, please.
And
somebody was asking in chat who the folks in blue instead of the black are, and those are, in fact, astronauts.
Yeah, it's usually NASA personnel. The NASA personnel wear blue, the SpaceX personnel wear black. Although, again, you see the media people there, the photographer and the videographer kind of just hanging around there.
Yep.
And you can still see the leg of one of that support crew sticking out of the hatch, which, yes, it does kind of look like a face for those that have commented on it.
I was literally just thinking that. I'm like, I'm not going to unsee this now. This is it. This
Exactly.
is
And
talking to my brain.
if you didn't see a face before, now you do. Cannot
Yep.
unsee it.
Join us.
Chris Bergen, yes. NASA wears blue, SpaceX wears black, NSF wears merch from shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Exactly. Thanks, Chris. Particularly the Hawaiian shirts with the dolphins around the anyway.
There's still some in the store. You still have a chance to buy them.
So what's that? NSF pad rat flight suits win. All right, looks like first person getting ready to come out. Who will it be? There's a 1 in 4 chance of getting it right. Chat, who do you think is going to be first as we continue to wait?
I almost feel like command test. Because, like, like, kind of not necessarily going down with the ship, but, like, staying in the ship the longest, like, being last off the ship. I could be wrong,
But
of course.
also, it could be where they're located in the seats of who they have to get out first.
That could be too, yeah. I just run down the line.
It looks like, is that Mike?
I think that's, yep.
That is Mike Fink, yes. Again, you can see he's struggling to stand up a bit, but giving the big smile and thumbs up. Now taking his seat on the stretcher just to make it easier for him.
Excited to be out breathing the sea air.
Yes, Mike, a spaceflight veteran. This was his 4th trip to space. So now they'll bring him back towards the medical facilities that they have back there and any other, shall we say, facilities that they need.
Mm-hmm.
In addition
Mike was in the middle, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just started logging that in my head.
Yes, that is absolutely 100% Bill Ingalls, by the way, who's the NASA photographer there with the still camera. Awesome guy. If you've seen a NASA photo, you've likely seen his photos. And let's see who's next. Come on down. You are the next contestant on. Crew-11 is right. Again, teams checking in with all of the astronauts first, working with the people inside the capsule that are helping to extract them from the seats, unhook them from all of their harnesses and everything, and safely remove them, help them readjust to that strong gravity. So I believe with that, Mike Fink, now a total of 549 days in space over his 4 space flights.
Next member is getting ready to come out.
See who it is? Kind of just helping shift them out. Again, make sure they go right through the center of the hatch, not bump up against the sides. Try and be gentle with them.
Mm-hmm.
They still have their helmets on too. And that appears to be Xena Cardman, the commander.
Yeah.
You could see the excitement in her face still. You could hear it all the way through re-entry, and you could see it on her face still. Absolutely love the excitement from Xena there.
Ready to go again.
And the fist pumps. Yeah, exactly. When's my next flight? Let's go. And in case you notice there, those were the 2 middle seats that were taken out there, the ones that are closest to the front. My guess is they were doing that so they can get them out of the way and then reach the 2 remaining crew members who are kind of a little bit lower in the back. And yes, now you see more parts of the seats being removed to access them. So still in there is Oleg Platonov and Kamiya Yui.
definitely makes sense to get the middle cleared. And just in case anybody's just joining, the stretchers are a normal part of this. It's just for letting them or helping them adjust to coming back to Earth and being in its gravity.
Also has nothing to do with who goes first of who was sick or not. It literally has to do with the location of the seats. That's also partly why Neil Armstrong was the first one on the moon as opposed to Buzz Aldrin, because of the location of the seats inside the lunar module. We don't know what the medical issue was. We don't know who had the medical issue. So all of this right now we're seeing is just readjusting to 1G after all that time in space. Trying to see if that crew member on the left is either NASA or if that is someone from JAXA.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
See who's next. Again, from this view on the left is cosmonaut Oleg Platonov. On the right is Kamiya Yui from this angle. Also from this angle, the front left was Mike Fink. The front right was Zena Cardman. So if you're going back left next, that would then be Oleg. Of course, with that being Zena's first flight, by the way, that would mark her total time in space at 166 days.
Next one coming out. Looks like it's...
It is Kamiya.
Yep.
JAXA astronaut Kamiya Yui. You could see, again, dealing with the struggles of 1G. And yes, that was, you could see there the waves, the thumbs up, and yes, that was a JAXA astronaut there to support with him. And with that, that being Kamiya's second flight, he now has 308 days in space. So that means that left is Oleg Platonov, who was on his first flight. So we know that will also be 166 days. And you can tell by the different flight suit there, that is someone from Roscosmos. Yeah, wonder, can you guess now, folks? You have a 1-in-1 shot of guessing which crew member is coming out next. Again, make sure everything's good there. And of course, it also helps having someone from their space agency, also as a way to ease the language barrier too. Although all of the crew members that go up into space do train to speak both English and Russian, given that one side of the ISS is all written in English and the other side of the ISS is written in Russian. So they both learn each other's languages. So the American astronauts can speak Russian, the Russian astronauts speak English, but obviously anyone who's a native speaker of a language knows that it's a lot easier to speak your own language than one that you've learned secondhand.
And Mike was also using some Japanese during the handoff too, which was cool to see that as well.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Should see Oleg coming out shortly. So again, the official time there for the crew, 166 days, 17 hours, 26 minutes, I believe.
Out and standing up.
Wow, he's coming out strong. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
The Russians trying to prove a point right there.
Right.
Coming out strong and still standing. The big old smile as well. You could tell the first-time flyers with the giant smiles coming out of the capsule. And with that,
fantastic.
The Crew-11 mission is officially over. All 4 crew members are now out of Crew Dragon Endeavour. And a beautiful flight, 166 days, 17 hours, 26 minutes, albeit cut short early due to the medical issues. A gorgeous flight indeed. And that is going to wrap up NSF's coverage of all of the events of Crew-11. We appreciate all of you that stayed with us through everything, all the way from the initial coverage of the incident through the handover ceremony, the undocking, and now the splashdown. Thank you for trusting us with our coverage and trust us for our journalism and being able to bring all of this to you. Thank you as well, JG, for your first stream here at NSF.
Happy to be here, and I want to thank everybody for coming along for the ride.
Thank you as well to Carson Phillips for pushing the buttons and pulling the levers for today's stream. And there is a post-splashdown press conference coming up at 5:45 a.m. Eastern Time. We will not be streaming it, but we will do our best to have someone from NSF inside able to ask questions. So keep an eye on those social feeds. You see them there in the top right of your screen. We will give you updates on what they say at that press conference and any other awesome spaceflight updates. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. We got plenty more live space coverage coming up for you, including the rollout of Artemis 2 this coming weekend. So hopefully we'll see you all for that. I'm Sawyer Rosenstein. I have been your host for most of the Crew-11 coverage, and we will see you all for the next event.
And here we go. There's the W. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did it just do a kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, that sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation. 343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.